Evening everyone, thank you very much for joining us here. You know, I've knocked myself up another little bit of another corner of the cupboard, so here we go. We're going to start to look at smart installations. I thought I'd come into here to do this because it probably suits us better off than trying to be at a desk looking at these. And really looking at smart homes, smart installations, and it tends to be one of the buzzwords at the minute. I'm going to take a chance to start to look at some product, because that's where we really perhaps need to focus on what the product does and how it does it, and many more that are out there. Now, what I will say is CEF have been showing us what they have got in stock and what they've got available. So if you want to take a look through this, my colleagues back at CEF headquarters, they're going to be posting the link that you can follow that will take you straight to all the information that you're going to need. I'm going to be talking you through some of the intricacies and looking at some of those and where you can or can't use this technology, looking at where some of the installations it will sort of help you. I've had to use this myself. Some of the technology that you've got here, I was lucky enough to get hold of when some work that I've done in the past. We couldn't get any switch drops down. There was some real old oak panelling. We weren't allowed to put any switch drops. However, they wanted some lights controlled differently, and the only way to go really was by using some smart technology. So I'm going to start by looking at what the technology is and how it tends to work out there. And the first thing that is quite true that I think we need to look at and consider is the technology that's out there. When they say smart technology, there's a whole wide range of things that it could be smart for, and the reasons it could be smart. Now, what you've got to remember is it's how it can really be controlled. That's what we're looking at. It's the controllability of it all. So I've got here some items to show you. And I managed to, like I say, get my hands on something to show you, because it's better than just talking about it. And I've got another camera to show you that will be looking at close-ups for as we go throughout this about half hour. And if you've got any questions, I've got the ability to pick up on the questions that are coming, so please feel free to put them to us. That would be absolutely great. Now, one thing I think is true to say, the majority of the stuff we're seeing out there at the basic level is RF, radio frequency. So radio frequency will basically mean between this device here, this is what is now replacing a switch. This is a button effectively. When the button is indicated or switched, that then sends an RF signal to a receiver. Now, depending on what receiver you've got, and it depends really what you want it to do. The guys, when they sent me this lot to have a look at today, they were sending me over, this is just a normal standard out, that's just an external socket. I was thinking, how on earth is that smart? It's not smart, it's what you wire it through and wire it to. So here, what I've got here is a receiver. Now, RF, radio frequency, what this will do then is, this will send a signal. When I push this button, that button will then be received by this, that will be wired in series with the socket or the light or whatever I want to do. Up to 16 amps this goes, by the way, up to 16 amps. That's this manufacturer. Now, once that button is pressed, it then sends a signal to this, a radio frequency signal. They get picked up on this one here, and if you're worried about this device here then altering anything else that's in the home that could be radio frequency, they've sort of taken care of that, the manufacturers. They're starting to use a megahertz that won't be used for anything else, so you may want to consider that one. So this one here will then start to pick up the signal that's sent from this. Now, this, as though it looks like a switch, it could be stuck on, it could be screwed on, it could be anything you want, just to make sure. I've seen a lot of people actually just use it lying around, and that's because they want to use it in different parts of the property or installation as they're doing it. Quite a lot of boardrooms have these in, so they can put the blinds down, have the shutter come down, and bits like that. So quite a lot of boardrooms are having this. So just the RF there would send information to this. So that's from one device to another. A radio frequency signal gets sent to one, recovered by this, and then that's it. You're off and doing. Now there's a number of these receivers that the manufacturers have got. They're all typically around about this sort of size, maybe different shape. Now what these will do is these will receive a certain type of signal, and when that signal is received, dictated what these do is pretty much how they're made. This one is a switching, so it'll switch on and off. So depending on what part of the button I press, it will switch on. Which one I press again will switch off. So it receives two signals to be able to do that. You can get a dimming, so a dimming effect as well with this switching off. You can get that. You can get open and closing, so that's another one that you can try and get for these. So that is anything pretty much that opens and closes. Blinds, it could be garage doors, it could be garden gates, anything at all that open and closes, you could start to use that for. Again, as a motor runs one way, as a motor run another way. These will have the ability to do that. What I will say is, it is very important that you understand the limitations of these with regard to load. So you're thinking that's just sending a radio frequency, so that's just got a battery in it for its energy. You're then looking at saying this here can probably control 16 amps. If your motor is going to be larger than that, then that's obviously got to go through some sort of contactor that would then be switching your larger load. So this can do it, and it will do it very effectively, but you just want to have a look at that. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, that's ugly, I don't want one of them in the home, I can't talk the customer into having anything like that. It doesn't have to be this, because what you can get is, providing you can get normal looking switches, but this is where we have to really be aware. So I'm going to zoom in on this one here so you can hopefully see the close-up. So right, this has to be a rocker switch. So this has to be, as you can see there, not just an average rocker, but this is going back in. So as soon as you're hitting it, that's it, it's returning back to it. So as soon as that signal is sent, that's it, it's back over then. So once the signal's sent there, it's starting to look at. So let's just have a look at that on the close-up there for you guys. So here we go, that's what we're looking at there. So it has received that, as we see it, that's receiving, returning back in. Now on the back it's just a normal two-way switch they've got there, but here they've got the ability, and again these are pretty common, doesn't have to be, but it's one of them that returns into where it's going. So that's what you need. Now the reason you need that is because once it's sent the signal, that's it, it doesn't need to continue to send the signal. So pretty much like the buttons that we're seeing here, once that's been pressed once, that's it, it sends that RF signal out there, that's it, that's all it needs to do. So it needs to be returning, so you can't just use a normal switch. However, that could be a decorative one, it could be a polished chrome, it could be anything you want really that you're putting in there. What you have to do to turn this normal type of switch to send RF signals out is, again, you're going to need another one of the actuators here. So here we go, multifunction one. So again, they look pretty much the same, but here we go. This then will convert the action of this switch into an RF signal that will then again go out. Now you can choose to give this one live and neutral, a permanent live and neutral, so you're not worried about batteries in these ones. Whereas some of the others that we're seeing here, that we saw earlier, these have got batteries in. Now if you're worried how long the batteries are lasting, talking to the manufacturer of this specific one, they're saying it's going to last in around 7,000 to 8,000 pushes. So I think that's going to see you through the job, don't you? See you through the retention work, so that will see you past those. And again, it's just a little battery. You just pop the front off there and you gain access to the battery that sits in that part there. So you don't have to do it, the client can easily gain access to doing those. Now, one thing to consider with radio frequencies, it does really depend how far you're going to go and what you're going through. So again, if I can look to zoom in on this one, and again, hopefully you guys are seeing this like I am, you can see there, most manufacturers will come and they'll tell you what they can or cannot expect. So here they've got some information regarding going through walls, going through stud work, going through glass material, and I'll just give you a quick list here of what they're saying they can achieve. So it says here, transmission of the radio frequency signal through various materials. How much you're gonna lose here? So this is, if it's going through brickwork, you can expect 60% of the signal to maintain. 60% of it. It's saying between 60 and 90. So you'll still get a strong signal through there, but it's weakened by about 40%. If it's going to be stud work and stuff like that, it's saying 80 to 90% are going to get through those stud works, but that's one stud work. If you've got lots of stud works that it's going through, front of the house maybe to the back of the house, or front of the office to the back of the office, again that's going to be a bit of a problem, because it's straight line that he wants to look at here. Straight line of sight between the device and the receiver that you've got there. Reinforced concrete. So if you're going to go put this old stuff, a bit like I had to, avoiding those oak panels, they didn't want me to put too much chasing in there. I couldn't fish the cables down there, so I had to put one of these in, and again they loved it because this got them round a problem, so it meant that there was no upheaval really of the switch drops. Now that there, where some of the was really thick old stone, it can go down to almost 20% in some areas. If it's solid metal, so if it's let's say it's a metal container you're looking to wire and you're looking to use these, so internally you're okay. As soon as you take something out external, the receiver, and this is emitting the signal internally, good luck. It's saying here between 0 and 10%. If it's glass, which a lot of our commercial installations, offices and bits and bobs are, glass walls and the like, they're saying that's not too much of a problem. 80% of the signal will continue to get through there. So we can see there, so that's not too problem at all. Now, one thing that we are also seeing is once you've got that, and that's all very good, that sort of type of technology is okay. So people are saying, RF, got my head around RF, that sends a signal, that receives it, and then that will tell a light to come on, a light to go off, a door to open, a door to close, a shutter to actuate, pulling the blinds up or down. Got my head around that. What happens if I want to do that externally? And this again is the external, the stuff that people want to do. Well, then you've got to take that RF signal that's being sent from this switch to something like this. So this isn't a modem, but this receives that RF signal and it knows what that's meant to do. But once that receives this RF signal from whatever you're doing, it can then send it out via telecom, so via a phone line. It'll go out telemetry, and then it can go out and then via the Wi-Fi signal that's either supported by your property or again 3G or 4G that you've got. It can then give you access via your tablets or your smart devices. So you could have your phone, you could have an app that would easily accept that, and then all of a sudden you can start to interact with it. That's what a lot of people are starting to like. I'm sure you've probably had the car journeys the same as the Staniforth household here. You get 5 miles down the road and you think to yourself, did we turn the oven off, or did we turn the iron off, or is that on, or what? Oh, we've got this, left that. You're going away on holiday, is the heating off, and stuff like that. And again, this would allow you to just get rid of them worries by looking at the app. The app would then send the information via 3G or 4G or Wi-Fi up to a cloud. The cloud would then send it across to this bit of technology, and then from here again it would emit that signal, turning it into RF, that would be received by one of these, telling the light to go on, the oven to go off, the iron to go off, stopping that worry while you're away on holiday or saving energy. And a lot of this is around energy conservation as well, allowing you to really have things on when you want them to be, rather than just looking to only have them on when you switch them on. So there's a lot of information around those. So that's again the one bit of technology. We'll send the Wi-Fi signal to your phone or externally again back in, so you can go RF or Wi-Fi. The other one you may want to consider, this is for larger installations, so these are large smart installations that you're probably looking for. You may still want to employ some of this technology here, however you're probably going to find that a lot of it's hardwired by Cat5 or similar types of cable, so you're going to probably find that it's a KNX system. Now this is a full integrated smart system that they're talking about here. So they're probably talking around, this is a Cat5 to every single light, a Cat5 to every single switch, at least one Cat5, because it may have a multiple Cat5s at it to allow it to do truly what you want it to do. You may be looking at speakers that are there looking to help you as well. And again, this is true Cat5. Now that's going back to a panel. Now we've had questions on this when we're doing our tech talks across the UK, and the tech talks are always coming up saying, what equipment can we put in there? Manufacturers of the panel, do I have to go and get permission for them to be able to put the product in? Normally when it looks at smart installations and technology, what we're doing is we're finding the manufacturers are getting a number of these, combining them all to a DIN rail mountable enclosure or receiver, and then that will sit inside these panels that you're seeing. Some have a glass perspex front so you can see what's going on in them, and then all the Cat5s come into there, and then all of a sudden you can start to take the normal 230 volts out to these accessories, but the switching is done via the panel, and then the receivers are there. That's where they sit really, all these. Now at that point there you can have them. That's not a problem. Not a problem at all, and you can start to integrate normal. So again, this is the Skullmore product. This would be accepted into their panels. It's highly unlikely that you're going to find those panel manufacturers, unless it is someone like KNX saying they only want their product installed in their equipment. That's fine, that's down to them, and it's all around type testing. But it's highly unlikely you're going to find the other product manufacturers with those standard and requirements. There's hardly anything in there really that I think is going to be much of a problem at all. You've just got to look for somewhere to be able to put it, and a lot of people choosing under the stairs or next to the consumer unit. The other thing that we get asked quite a lot on is what can you control with these? And it's true to say you can get devices like these. This is one of the stats that we've got out here, so I'll give you a close up on this one again. So this is the stats, so you can see there It's got the opportunity to capture temperature via some of the sensors that are there. This screen, this LED screen that you're seeing here, doesn't just allow you, and this is where the technology comes on a lot more now, it doesn't just allow you to capture temperature, turn it on and off. That's not just all these do now. So this one here, without a doubt, this will send Wi-Fi signals all across your house, again being picked up by these, putting lights on, sockets on, bedside lights on, all of those, closing and opening windows. You can do all that from these devices, and this will also do your heating and hot water. So they're doing an awful lot more than just heating and hot water. Having said that, if you look at the brochure that's out there that the guys that keep sharing with you guys, you can easily see that it does allow you, some of the stuff that's out there, the Nest systems and that lot, to easily control your heating and hot water. And then from there, again, via the apps that you've got, you can do it when you're actually in the same property. So there's a lot there that you can rely on as well. And let's say these aren't just for heating, so these do an awful lot more for the those there. So the lights that they're doing, typically, again, the only thing I'd say with the lights, you've got to really watch what type of lights you're doing. One thing I did notice on one of these here, and again I'll come in close on this one, so hopefully you can pick up on this as well. Looking at the top there, it's asking you what type of loads it's doing. So on the top it's asking you there, what load do you want it to be? So it's asking you, do you want it to be LED lights? Is it asking you to be on some of the others? It's saying what type is it? So is it incandescent? Is it LED? Is it normal reactive lights? So again, there's you need to find out what the system is and then start to fit these. What we're seeing here is stuff that could be easily integrated into an existing system. So you could easily start to find room within voids and make sure that these are in suitable enclosures and the terminals are terminated correctly. We don't see any of these left exposed, but you could easily start to find places for these to go. Without a doubt, these will be fine if you're putting them in suitable enclosures throughout the installation. And again, it's important to understand the limitations of these, just how many amps they can or cannot carry. So there's a certain amount there to consider as well. But manufacturers are realising that this is the way to go, so they're trying to make it a bit easier for us. And we see here, this is again one of the other manufacturers, they're starting to get to grips with the flow plugs, so they're doing a lot of the wiring for you. But this is a lot of plug and play technology we're finding now. The only thing you've got to really understand is how the apps work nowadays. So we can see there's an awful lot there. So again, I would suggest that if you're looking to use some of this, and this is the one I used, the downlighters that were in were controlled via one of these. And again, one of these, if you've got, with this technology, this manufacturer and the other manufacturers that I've used, if you've got switching on and off, with these buttons, you press once, on, press it again, and that's it, it's off. However, not just this manufacturer but other manufacturers, you're pressing and holding and it creates the dimming part of it as well. So if you think you've lost that usability, you haven't. The functionality is still there. So this really is the types of, I mean, again, these ones here, these switches here, absolutely, you can put brass on them. It doesn't have to be this type, the white ones. You could still keep it with what the rest of the installation is. You could keep it that, not a problem at all for those there. And it doesn't have to be that, it could be a key fob. And again, all we're really doing is just sending that one signal out. So that one signal, that button there, you put this into learn mode, it accepts that signal, that's it, it will do something until it's told to stop doing that or the battery goes in this. So that could be in the car. You could have one that brings the garden lights on, one that opens the garden gate, one that opens the garage door, and that's it. You keep that in the car, brilliant. Or you have that hanging up inside the house. And if you want to hear a noise, again, one button brings all sorts of lights on. That's not a problem to do either. You can really do quite a lot of this. To get that flexibility though, you're going to have to look at how these circuits are wired. So we are seeing a lot more people start to wire radials rather than ring final circuits when they're looking to do these, because if they're looking to control individual sockets, that's great via one actuator, but a number of sockets, maybe the 5 amp sockets, again they have to look to see how they're wiring them. So we're seeing a lot more radial circuits installed nowadays than ever before. We are aware as well that people are asking us quite a lot of, and one question coming to this one, people are saying, I've got a room thermostat, It's got live, neutral and switch live at it. Can I just go and bung one of these on? First of all, I'd say you should never go bunging anything on. You need to make sure it's fit for it. If you do look at integrating this, or one of the other systems that you can see that's viable via the downloadable link, you're going to have to do a little bit of altering at the wiring centre, or maybe at the programmer, because this will pretty much become your programmer. It tells it when, it tells it how much and how long. That's going to be the bit that sort of takes over that part there. So you can see that we've gone through what type of switching, and again it's a button now. So you see the button that we've got there, or you replace the button if you want it to still stay looking the same, you can do. And again, there's those then send the information out, the receiver picks it up, and it's then from the receiver then it then starts to do what you want it to do with regard to switching or dimming or any of those. So we've got those. I'm just going to take a look and see some of the questions that we've got coming in here. Scully, does it make a brew? Right. It will actually. If you've got a socket in there, you want the old teas made. That's what you want. Remember the old teas made? You used to put everything in the night before, set the time clock, and that was it. Used to come on. This will pretty much almost do that. Apart from you've still got to do the tea and sugars, I'm afraid. Yeah, white on one, be lovely. Right, when it flushed the toilet. So you two are having a lovely chat there, aren't you? Shame I'm getting in the way, really, isn't it? Right, it can do lots for you. I mean, what I would suggest is, if you get the opportunity to put some in your own property, that's the only way you can really understand this. I do, however, know that there are some training around as well. So have a look to see and connect with that magazine there, because that may give you the opportunity to get hold of some training. Most of the manufacturers will do training. I noticed on this leaflet here, again, this is all telling you how you can do the parts that you need to really take care of. However, there's information across the bottom there how you can get hold of them, and you can use their technical helpline, so you can get hold of them to do it. And I think having that information on there that tells you what it can typically go onto is brilliant. They're saying here that the RF signal can go typically 200 meters. That is a long way, 200 meters. We've heard of people using that where you want some lights maybe that are being fed from one source, yet you want the switch to be at the main house, so if you hear a noise you can switch the lights on. This type of technology is absolutely brilliant for that. We don't want them long switch drops, or sorry, long switch runs. You don't want them going through. So the other thing to mention to you guys here, when you're looking at the panels, you're looking to feed the panels, again you must be looking to make sure that the panels are all are in line with the requirements. So when I say in line with requirements, what type of supply are you giving to them? And again, if you're putting MCBs in there and the like to try and control it, that point there, again, you need to just again check to make sure that you're not becoming a manufacturer of something that resembles a consumer unit. So just be mindful. Well, I'm talking about those that are to a panel, and you're looking at running maybe Cat5s around an installation, probably for a new home that's got a lot of maybe theatre stuff in it, speakers in it, and a lot of this technology as well. Please be mindful. The regulations around how we are containing our cables now also affects Cat5 cables. So these metal clips that we've all been talking about now, the introduction of the 18th edition, also applies for Cat5 cables and any other type of cable that you've got in the property, really. So just be aware of that you really do need to look out for those. So I've gone through does it make a cup of tea? I've gone through the toilet, I've gone through the bits and bobs like that. I've looked at all of these. We've looked at sending a signal, receiving a signal, the limitations regarding the amount of amps on that one. We've looked at that one there as well. We've also looked at this part here. It's not just looking now anymore at controlling your heats. This does lots more. So if you were to just make the wire connections at the wiring centre, install this, liven it up. And by the way, livening these up, you need to look at what ones you're going with, because this one here, if I can open this one and show you what this one's doing, to get a supply to this one, what they're suggesting giving you is one of these. Look, so after you plug this in, you're gonna have that plugged in somewhere. So your client may not want that, so you're gonna have to look at the supply to these, how you're gonna get that supply in, what's it gonna do once the supply is there. That may be something that you may want to consider in the first fix stage, rather than trying to get round at the end. So just be aware of that. I know some of the other stats that are out there as well also require maybe from a USB socket into those. So they're doing those. We've got the fobs that you've got out there. So these key fobs can then start to pick up. But again, it's doing exactly the same. It's just sending an RF signal out. If you don't want it to do it via RF and you want to send a signal back in, you're going to need a little box of tricks like this, and that will be receiving the signal via telemetry that you've perhaps done when you're at work. You've used the works Wi-Fi, you've put the lights off or on, goes into the Wi-Fi, into the cloud, from the cloud finds your receiver, because this will be connected to your telemetry, and then once this is received, this will then emit an RF signal to do what you want it to do. And that all comes down to controllability, which is a lot of why a lot of people are moving down the smart technology, because it can be controlled with the apps. So please take yourself a look at all the apps and functions that are available out there. We haven't got too many questions in. We've done about 25 minutes of looking at what we've got here. I'll say thank you to Skullmore for getting this stuff to me as quickly as what they did. They really did bust the gut to get this out so I could show you some of the functionalities here. What I will say is, not just those, but all the other manufacturers have got opportunities for you to ring them and have a chat with them to see how it's going to work best. There are really good solutions here to some of the problems that you're finding on a day-to-day basis. So please take a look at some of the options that are out there. What we'll do is, I think if there's no more questions coming in, we'll perhaps look to wrap this one up. It really leaves me to say thank you very much for joining me this evening. There's been a number of you in, which has been absolutely great. I will go on to say that the next one of these we do with our friends at CEF is going to be around electric vehicle charging. Now that is really big for our industry. If any of you have been coming to Tech Talks as we've been going around the UK, you will note that it really is going to start kicking off. We need 6 more electric vehicle charging points than what we've currently got. So we need to see more and more and more. And how we install them has been changed a little bit in the regulations. That change could have a big impact. However, we'll be looking at that one and spending a bit of time with you in the not too distant future. But until that time, what I'm going to say from myself and the friends here at CEF, and they'll probably put the link up again for you to have a look at. Thank you very much and take care, guys.